Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. My name is John.
This is Crystal. We talk about the joys and the challenges of teaching music in the elementary school classroom.
We share struggles, we brainstorm solutions.
And we would love to have you join us.
Welcome to another episode of Chaotic Harmony, episode 115? 15, yes, 15 for the week of, what week is it? My goodness, it's the week of June, by the time this comes out, 10th, something around there. Hello, everyone. I am one of your hosts, Jonathan Seligman, and today I am joined by the sensible one, Jasmine Mah. Hello, Jasmine.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's going pretty well. 2 more days of school left for me.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I'm like last run this
Two
week.
2 days. Like, are you teaching during that whole time or?
So for me, it's one full school day with kids, and then the second day is a half day with kids, and then
Okay.
after that, a work day,
Mm-mm.
which is just like cleanup time,
What's a half
essentially.
day for y'all? Like
Half
when you,
day
yeah,
is
when
I
you,
teach instead of 40-minute periods, I teach 20-minute periods. So I
okay.
teach that class, like that section of students, only for 20 minutes rather than
And
40.
you end like at around,
Around noon.
okay, so good amount of time. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know half days vary, even within our own district here. Some people's half days end around 2.
Oh.
And for me, it's 105. So it's all dependent on when we start and such. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thankfully, I am on break. So
Nice.
condolences. I hope you push through those 2 days. Um, and also, I mentioned earlier that we are having some new faces in Chaotic Harmony. And listeners, lo and behold, Jasmine is one of them. So it's really good to have you on the team.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be on it.
Cool, cool. As a reminder to our listeners, by the way, this is Chaotic Harmony, the podcast where we talk about the joys, struggles, and all things adjacent to elementary music. It's been a while since we've had a recording, maybe, but also May has been a lot. Like it's been a lot for a lot of us. How has your May been, by the way, Jasmine?
Busy. It was
Yeah,
our concert month, so it was just like concert and performance after concert and performance, and then cleaning up for us
yeah.
to turn in like all of our Orff instruments and all of our band
Mm.
instruments.
Do
And
you help out with sixth grade or fifth grade, whichever the eldest grade is for y'all promotion or no?
a bit, yes. Like they do like a final song at the end, but since I have to turn it, because at first I was planning a band concert, but
Hmm.
just with logistics and me having this stuff, 30 instruments into my small car,
Sure.
I was like,
Okay.
I will just turn them in now and we'll sing together instead.
We'll just make it all pretty. Yeah. No,
Hmm.
that's smart thing there. But yeah, so May has been busy for all of us, and so thank you, listeners, for your patience. But the last episode was a special one. Sasha and I talked about the March for Public Education that we had in California. It was a really good talk about the importance of doing the good work outside of our classroom. So please do check that out. Did you all have you have had that up north for y'all, right?
Yes, we did have it in Sacramento and I believe in San Francisco as well.
Okay, cool. Did you
And
know anyone?
I attended for a quick minute and then my family had called me to drive over the YOLO. So I was like, oh, okay. But I tried to stay as long as I could. But I saw many coworkers, many and a few music educators as well in my district. So it
That's
was really
awesome.
nice to see them.
I'm glad to hear that. That's cool. Yeah, so listeners, go check that out. It's really a good episode. And then next week we're gonna have Jamie Junn just to round off the corner. You've heard her voice, you've seen her face many times, but now we get to hear her stories. So
She brings
keep
the fun.
Jamie Junn. Um, yeah, so keep your ears peeled out for that, y'all. But today we don't have Sasha, we don't have Jamie, we have you, Jasmine. And I'm really excited to chat with you because of all of the new Chaotic Harmony co-hosts, you're the one I know the least. So,
Oh, that's true.
yeah, which I'm glad to know you. I'm glad to have met you, and but I know you the least. So this will be a good introduction to who you are. So help me out. Like, we say what?
I was like, what? Who am I?
Well, who are you? Or rather, we'll start with our program notes. So you mentioned you teach, I guess you teach at multiple sites. Is that correct?
Now I only teach at one this year. I was very lucky
Hey,
with the Prop 28 funds
I'm
to place
glad.
me at one site.
I am glad to hear that there are districts utilizing that funds correctly. So you're at one site.
Yes.
So where do you teach? What's it like?
I teach at Carmichael Elementary in the Carmichael area, so North Sacramento. I teach TK all the way to fifth grade, and then as extra, I teach choir and band before school. because we're a late start school. We start around 9 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and you
So I
end at 12
teach
o'clock for a half day?
usually
Oh,
for this minimum day at least. Sometimes it's 1:10, sometimes it's 12:20. It depends on the schedule for me.
fascinating. And so wait, when does your school end? 9 o'clock, end of three or something? Or
We end at 3:35
okay.
usually. So pretty late.
So you have after school groups also, or just
I
before?
don't just before groups
Okay.
because for me, a lot of families bring in their students at like 7 a.m. and they're waiting there. So I was like, might as well
Might as
come join
well.
me in band, come join me in choir. And that's where I get a lot of my recruitment of like if students need to, or parents need to drop off their students ahead of time, they can just come to band class and they're at least doing something productive instead of just waiting outside.
Cool. Okay. And like, how is it a big school? Is it a small school?
I don't know. I realized that my what a big school and a small school. I was like, there's about like 600 students.
Okay.
Is that a big school? I don't
I
know.
mean, I would say that's a decent, that's a healthy number. That's about
Yeah.
how big our school was when I first started. We're now down to 400. It's been diminishing, sadly enough, but that's a
Mm.
good size. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. And so how many years have you been at that school site?
Uh, I've been there since first began teaching, so I am. This is like I'm finishing year four, so I have 2 days, and then I finish year four of teaching right now.
Well, congratulations. Almost at the five, almost at
Almost
halfway.
5.
That's awesome. Cool. And so have you, um, what is something that you really enjoy about the community that you teach at?
I think for me, it's just the environment I had because previously I was at 3 sites, then 2 sites, and then ended up staying with this one since like my day one site since the beginning of my teaching. But I really appreciate the staff I have there. Like they are very supportive of the arts. They're very supportive of me and everything I'm doing. So if I bring up ideas or if I want to collaborate, they're very much like, yes, how can we get that? How can we make that happen? What do you need? How can I help? And
That's
then with
huge.
yeah, and with my students, like for me, I really appreciate like how diverse my students are and how open they are to other cultures. Like I love bringing that in or even asking them or talking with their
Mhm.
families, and their families are really involved whenever I end up giving a call and saying like, "Hi, I'd like to ask you a few questions." So, yeah, I love my site. Like this is like my dream scenario. I think the hard like I tell my husband the only con is the drive. Like I drive an hour to get there.
Oh, condolences. But I
But
mean,
it's
hey, it's a good
like,
community.
yeah. So that's why I'm like, if that's the only con, I'm happy with that.
I'm curious though, because so you taught at three school sites and you say this one, I'm not, it's no disparagement to the other schools, but you really focus on this one. You're saying this one has a really caring community. Do you notice anything amongst your teammates that makes it very supportive? I mean, we say also actually backpedal a bit. Supportive as far as supportive for the arts, supportive for you as an individual, like in what way supportive?
I think both. Like, it was kind of hard for me to really build like a connection at a lot of my sites when I was especially at three, because I was there for 2 days and I was gone. And I probably missed most of the staff meetings, most of like the activities and stuff like that. But this site in particular was very much like, hey, we made sure that these events are on your days. Like, we wanted to make sure that you could attend.
Hmm.
Or they'd be like, what would work best? Like, we understand that like you're at another school that at that time, what time does that school get out? Would it work if we planned it at this time? Like they were very much attentive to me as an individual, I feel. But I also felt very much like a teacher. Like I felt le less like a entity that would come in and teach in the
Mm.
classroom, but they would be like, I have some questions about music teaching because I don't know. Can I talk to you about these things?
Wow.
Or
Okay.
even like my principal, when he would come and observe me, he was very much like, how are you doing? I'm watching you teach, but I'll be completely honest. It looks like they're having fun, but was that exactly what you had planned? Can you
Hmm.
explain it to me? I want to know. Like, I think it was a lot of interest, like, or engagement in what I was doing, where I want to know what you're doing because I don't know.
Hmm.
Whereas I feel like there were instances where people were like, okay, the fun teacher's here, goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that latter part is something that's more common than what your school has, or the one that you stayed with has. That's really cool. Do you feel like that there are Is it because like these teachers slash admin have had an arts background? Do you notice that correlation or
No, some of
they
them
just be cool?
they're pretty cool if I'm
Mm.
being completely honest. Like they're really chill. Like I think my principal started at the same time I did. So it was a very nice connection there. But it was like a lot of the senior teachers at this site really, I think, took me under their wing because we had some really difficult classes coming back from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
a teacher who was taught student teaching during the online and then came into my job in person. So I think
Yeah.
they noticed my struggle and were like, how can I help this person? Or how can I make sure they feel welcome to be able to ask me for help?
That's awesome. And that's awesome you have that. And let's actually go not yet into the COVID part. I think that's an interesting portion. We talked a bit about that like a few
Yeah,
episodes ago, but let's backpedal from the beginning.
the
So,
beginning.
where did you grow up? Like, what was your education like there?
I initially had like grew up in San Francisco for a few years, moved to Fairfield, for
For those
most
who
of like
don't
my
know,
primary.
Fairfield is
I have to think about that. I'm like,
compared to San Francisco, people know what San Francisco is, but like north, south,
I think it's
it's like
south.
south, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the south of San Francisco. But like for me, I did most of like my elementary, like half of it in Fairfield, and my family decided uh to fulfill my grandfather's dream in starting a ranch. So we had moved to Yolo County to the small town of Woodland. And I spent like most of like the rest of my elementary school days there. And for me, at least in Fairfield, I didn't really have much of a music education there. It was mostly just normal classes. And in Woodland, they had fourth, fifth grade band. So I was a part of the band for quite a bit. I played the flute and the piccolo.
Hey, flip players. Yeah.
It was my biggest regret.
Oh, why is that?
Well, I realized like I had played the flute because my family found it in the closet.
Oh,
And they're like,
mm,
"Oh, this
mm,
is your instrument, yay!" But
gotcha.
I really resonated well with low sounding instruments, and
Okay.
that's what switched me to double bass going on to
Wow.
middle school and high school. So I
You not
started
only
out with piccolo to double bass.
you switched not just ensembles, but you switched like 9 times size.
Yes,
And did you I did you bring that home? Did it stay only at the school? Like, how does that work?
I didn't start bringing it home until I was in high school and I could drive myself.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an interesting experience learning double bass because I was very much self-taught. Like I didn't have private lessons or anything along those lines. Like I wanted to start in middle school, and my first teacher even told me like your hands are too small, you'll never play the double bass.
Love
And
that
then
spirit.
that teacher left, and then another teacher came in, and he was like, "Sure, but you're gonna have to teach yourself because I don't know how to play it."
Oh, okay.
So living in To be fair, I lived in the boonies. Like my neighbors in Woodland were rice fields.
Oh.
Like I was on the very edge of the internet and trying to look up a video on how to play double bass just wasn't working. So I learned how to play with Google Images. I'd look at images and then copy what their hands were doing. And I was like, well, I think this is the right note. And I put a tuner up and I just find out generally where each note was at.
Interesting. Interesting. Wait, sorry. I hated when I was the young one to ask this, but when did you graduate from high school? What year?
I graduated high school in 2017.
Okay. It's okay. Okay. So like during our high school, middle school, so even though like 50 like, dial-up was no longer in the mainstream, like it was just because you lived out in the boonies, like the reception was like poor. Okay.
Yeah.
So like how long did it take for you to load a video if you tried?
I never tried.
You just never tried. Just
I like, cause even then, like, it would just like it would take so long. I was like, I could be doing something else right now.
sure, sure.
So if I could just look up an image and copy that, or like they gave me like a method book and I would
Mhm.
just copy the diagrams that they showed, cause I was like, it's not worth it. Cause usually by the time it would start loading up, it would like I
It
get
was
the
dinner.
little connections lost. No, it would
Oh,
just be
even
like
worse.
it didn't reach in time. Try
Oh,
refreshing and trying again.
fascinating. Images. Wow. Okay. I
So
tip my hat to you.
it was a very interesting experience because then in high school, because at least in Woodland, there's no orchestras. It's only band. So I played in the band in middle school, played in high school, and it was just for me a hobby, like a fun thing to do with friends because all my friends were in band.
Wait,
So I was like,
sorry, I must have missed that then.
"Hmm,
So you picked up the bass. They had a bass there,
yep."
even though there was no orchestra program. They just had a bass, similar
Well,
to the flute in the
in
closet. You have bass in the
some
closet.
wind ensembles, you need double bass.
Ah, okay.
So I would play like tuba parts, trombone parts, euphonium parts if there was no string bass parts.
Now I remember
So
this.
like transfer
Hmm.
over. So I was very much like in the band scheme of things. Like I didn't go into any orchestras till I was in college.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah. So it was very interesting to go from there to piccolo, double bass, and trying to learn double bass.
Hmm.
But I got a lot more insight when I was in high school on how to properly play the double bass because there was a lot of like, I'll be honest, my technique really sucked. I played like sonatas with only one finger. I'd be like, "Boop, boop, 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 boop,"
I mean, when you
and it
only have
was
still
like,
pictures, how can you?
I
Yeah.
don't, yeah. So it was very interesting to see.
Interesting. Okay. So before we get into like the collegiate area of your life, like what drew you to because clearly it wasn't the flute. What was it that captivated you to pursue music from elementary onwards?
For me, honestly, I wasn't, I was in there because my parents forced me to be in it.
Classic.
Like, it was something that kept me out of trouble. It was something I could do at home, and it was something that kept me busy.
Hmm.
So my family was really much like, you need to be in music. And then I started enjoying it myself because I felt like I found a really nice community of people
Mm.
there and found like very close friends and some I still even talk to now within like the music community. But initially, it wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, I actually never thought of myself as becoming a music teacher till like my senior year of high school. Like, I had a completely different plan. Like, I
What was it?
applied to college for language and
Oh.
cultures, like multiple languages, like Chinese and Spanish, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a foreign language teacher.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
didn't really think of music. Like, I took ROTC classes for childcare to like understand like child development. Like I was taking like AP Spanish. I had applied to multiple colleges for Chinese language and culture, but it was very interesting because my high school band director, he had asked me because he was like, I think you'd really enjoy teaching music. And I was like, I don't know, like I talked to my family about it and they told me I wouldn't get any money out of this kind of job. So if I'm a foreign language teacher, at least that's stable. Um, and he was like, well, how about I help you practice this audition rep and you just think about it. We'll see what happens. So I practiced it. I went to University of the Pacific and I applied and I went through their audition process and I had a private lesson right after that audition. And my teacher at the time, he literally told me, I don't understand how you're able to play any of these sonatas with such bad technique. And he was like, who was your teacher? And I was like, oh, Michael Loya, he's my high school teacher. And he's like, what does he play? And I was like, saxophone. And he just kind of stares at me and he's like, okay, then how did you learn all these things? I was like, well,
Well, he's
this is
here.
my folder of Google Images. This is my folder of Google Images. And then here's all the like pictures that I looked through on the method books. And I just copied what happened here, here, and here. And yeah,
What was the response?
he kind of stared at me for a second. Like he was like, "Oh." But I think that was like his realization of like I didn't have any formal lessons
Hmm.
and like and because he even told me like he's like, "I'll be honest, like this wasn't the best audition, but thinking about like what you just told me right now, that tells me a lot and that tells me that you can grow and you
Hmm.
never know." And when my parents came, because we also had like an interview process for the music education side of things, not even just the music side of things. My advisor, Dr. Britton, at that time, like slid my parents a paper, and it was like the typical salary schedule of schools in the California area, where she was like, "Yes, and look, this is a very decent job, and this is a very
Okay.
it's not the end all be all. Like there is progress, and at least at University of the Pacific, they talk a lot about like they have like a 99% hire rate. Like if you finish through the program, you'll get hired. So that's what they used to appeal to my family
Sure,
while we
sure.
were there.
Interesting. I'm
So
curious what, because we've shared this before, but what is the perspective? What caused the perspective for people to think the music teachers get less? Are there music teachers that get paid less throughout the country? Is that
see, I think how my family perceived it was like most things through the music industry.
mm,
And they think of it as part of the music industry. But I think there's also perspective that there are some programs of music that only teach before and after school and
mm,
aren't a full-time position. So
okay.
when most people think of music and their experiences usually being before and after school fifth and sixth grade band or fourth and fifth grade band, that doesn't seem like a full-time position, is
That's fair.
most of the misconceptions I've heard or seen.
Okay. Okay. So you impressed the audition professor. Is that like, hey, even though my technique sucks, I care. So,
I was like, I
um,
tried really hard,
and I
but
mean, I'm
yeah.
guessing that was a big showcase of your work ethic right there, which was awesome.
But it
Um,
was, yeah. And then after that, I got a phone call that I had made it in, and I was so excited about it that actually had like a genuine time to think about it, where I was like, is this actually what I want to do, or is
mm,
this just like I worked so hard for this, now I want to just follow through with it.
right.
And that took some thinking and a couple conversations with my parents, with my band teacher, with my school counselor. And I think that was like I really ended up enjoying it thinking about like because for me it was foreign language, but also cultures that really like sold me with
Mm,
wanting to be a foreign language teacher. But I could see that when I was in choir. I could see that when I was playing pieces in music, where I was like, is this just another outlet for that?
right.
So I decided I was like, I'm just gonna at least give it a year. I'll give it a year and see what happens. And I ended up sticking with it, obviously.
Yeah. Do you ever look back and wonder?
Sometimes, yeah, where I was like, if I actually ended up going that down that pathway, I'm like, I wonder what would have happened. Like
Hmm.
there would have been like so many different changes. But I think
Yeah.
that's like that everywhere, everything everywhere all at once, where it's like so many
Right.
different pathways. You could have done this. You could have eaten Cheerios for breakfast. I don't know.
This is a bit of a tangent, but chaotic harmony.
Yeah,
I recently have you seen the movie because you mentioning everything everywhere all at once. Have you seen the movie Past Lives?
I have not. I've heard of it though.
It's a really good film, really beautiful film. But like my dad and I talked a little bit about like it. I feel like he feels like there's a lot of Asian films talk a lot about what ifs.
Yeah.
And I feel like as of late, there's a lot of things that talk about what ifs. And I think that's really reflective of that, the immigrant experience. Like this whole like,
Mm-hmm.
what if I took a different path? And I mean, obviously, even for a non-immigrant, like what if we took a different path, if you went
Yeah.
for this profession otherwise. But okay.
Yeah, so it was very interesting because I
Mhm.
went to University of the Pacific then and was very intent on being a orchestra and choir teacher because I loved choir, I loved all that, and then I played double bass, so I was like, I guess orchestra is the next part of that. But I'll be completely honest, I didn't enjoy it, the
Mhm.
secondary teaching personally. I felt like to me it was really stressful. Like the
Expound.
performance, for me it was the performance side of things. Like I always felt like it needed to be here. It needed to be at like a certain
Mm,
level. And it doesn't have to be like now that I've been teaching, but it's like thinking about the experiences of the students and building that up. But I think back then I was like, I need to be able to teach them all of these songs. They need to be able to play these symphonies. They need to be able to sing these arias. But I just didn't find myself enjoying it as much until I had my observations with elementary,
Mm.
which I found I really enjoyed.
And so you said earlier that elementary was not really big where you grew up.
Nope. I never
Um,
knew it existed till I was given this placement.
what
Because,
was sorry,
oh,
sorry, finish
go on,
up.
you're good.
No, no, no,
You
this whole internet lag shindig. Um, what what did you see that was different when you observed an elementary music class? What did you see that opened your eyes?
For me, I didn't realize that you could teach younger than fifth grade. Like actually, like that
Mm.
was my perspective of like you go into band and then you do middle school band and high school band and you're gonna be teaching either elementary band, middle school band, high school band, or the ensembles. Whereas I walked into a room with one of the master teachers and she was Kodai trained and she was singing with them, she was playing with them, they were utilizing solfege, and I was like, why didn't I get this?
Mm.
I got kind of like FOMO. Like I was like, this is what elementary music is? I wish I had this because I feel like, especially when I thought back at like my theory and oral perception classes, like I struggled. I didn't have the ears to listen to, or at least like the knowledge of like what all of that was. Because I started at the very beginning classes
Right.
and I was like, but they're learning that right now. I'm hearing them sing all these intervals and they're in second grade. What the heck? Like, so it was a very interesting, but the fact that they're having so much fun with it.
Mm.
Like, I had always thought of like, I think for me, it was like the common like work mentality of like, go, 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 go. We're constantly productive. But I didn't really think about like that productivity can also be fun.
Mm.
So
That
seeing that
productivity can
and
also be fun.
like seeing the process with these elementary schoolers and the joy that teacher was having, I was like, I want that. And that was like my initial like I think spark with elementary. So then I continued and I got through my student teaching where I taught high school and elementary. I taught high school strings and then elementary strings and a few elementary general classes.
Hmm.
And I think it was like the official turning point for me because my advisor was getting me to apply for like some high school positions, some elementary positions, like everywhere under the sun. But it was also we do something called VMR at UOP,
Yeah. What does that mean? What does it
video
stand for?
micro rehearsals. So we would videotape ourselves teaching for 10 minutes, and and during that class, everyone in that cohort would see
Mm.
you teaching for those 10 minutes. And then we'd have like this whole packet of things of like speaking. And someone would just focus on speaking of like, how many times did you say, How many times did you say like,
Wow.
what's the thing that you say the most that just doesn't make sense? Like I found out I'd say all right if I didn't like that was my version of because they're like you said all right 67 times and I don't know why.
This was for your
Or
undergrad, is that
yeah,
correct?
it was for my undergrad. So we finished like one was like speaking, one was like positioning. Are you standing in the same spot of the room the whole entire time or are you moving around? Are you using your arms? Are your
Mhm.
arms doing something productive? Or are you just holding your hands like this and your kids don't know why, but that's just what you're doing? It was thinking about the topics that you were teaching. Are you moving around? What subjects are you trying to hit? Can you do that while hitting other subjects at the same time? But we would watch those 10-minute rehearsals. Everyone got a different page, and then we'd review it right when the video was done. Like, finish your notes, and then we'd all talk it through
Hmm.
for that person.
Interesting. The more I talk to other people, I feel like I was just robbed of a quality music education. Mind you, I didn't start until my credential, so it was like there
Mm.
is that, but still, even the credentialing program was like, man, I hear you sharing this, like, whew, that would have been so helpful.
Yeah, it was very intense. Like, I know the first couple times, like when people were watching my video, I was like, I need to stand up and like And luckily it was over Zoom. So I was like, I need to stand up and just make dinner while this is going on because I
Mm,
can't.
mm.
But it really helped out. And I think for me and my cohort, we were already really close that we knew like we weren't doing it to be mean or we weren't giving feedback out of like
Right, right.
maliciousness. But it really, one of the comments that my advice or like my professor had told me was she was like, Jasmine, I want you to look at this video of you teaching high school and this video of you teaching elementary and look how much happier you are here in elementary. And she's like, and look how stressed out you look here in the orchestra. And I was like, yeah, because that's kind of how I feel. And she's like, so why are you applying for jobs with orchestra then? Why are you applying for secondary jobs when you know where you're happy? So I
Mm.
was like, oh, that's a good point.
That's it's interesting. Like first off, you mentioned earlier that the reason why you stuck with music was because of how you had this communal feeling. And you talk about, you know, the joy or the fun of learning in elementary. And I guess like part of it is like, well, yeah, of course, kids want to be where kids like are enjoying. And it makes me question why we ha why I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, and includes myself. Why I also try to focus so much on, you know, getting my own internal standards for these kids correct when the purpose is, hey, fun. Fun. I liked your quote. Productivity can also be fun. Like, yeah, we can learn and we can have fun. Like it is the Orff way. But also,
Yeah.
I also wonder why is it that a lot of secondary music classes are so stressful. Like I think your narrative is not a solo narrative. There's a lot of other people that feel that as well.
For me, I think it's just like the expectations that people put. Like when they hear, oh, this is a wind ensemble, this is an advanced band. And an advanced band skill set, depending on the population you teach at, depending on where you're at, what students are you working with, it really changes that perspective. But sometimes, especially like for me, when I was thinking about it, I thought about it like the college ensembles that I was in were so good.
Mm, mm,
And like not to toot UOP's horn, but like their wind ensemble was great. Like they go to New York, they go on tour and they do all those things. And I was like, I want those experiences, but I have to be that good. Like I put my students like I need to get them up here if we want to have those experiences. I need to kind of it's gonna be tough, but we gotta practice all the way up to here, and then the fun part happens.
mm, mm.
And that's where I realized like that wasn't the case, especially when I started teaching elementary, because at first, when I was teaching, it was very much like, okay, we got to learn how to read notes. We got to learn how to read rhythms. We got to get going, and then the fun stuff happens. We get all this boring stuff, and then the fun stuff happens. But now in my fourth year of teaching, I'm like, but you can make that fun. You can make that interesting. You can still create a community while being productive and teaching them the standards and teaching them those ways. But it doesn't have to be like, all right, we have our lecture, we practice. All right, next up, what's going on next? And I think I had that like go, go, go mentality because I was like, when they're in middle school, I want them to have those experiences, but in order for those experiences to happen, in my mind, in the beginning of my teaching, this is where they need to be,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. I
No, no, no.
don't know.
That does make sense. That does make sense. And I'm just like chewing it all. Like it's funny because the episode before you, not before you, a couple episodes before you was Genesis.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you heard of that episode because I know it's during a busy season. Hey, did you listen to Genesis episode?
I think so. Yeah.
But one
I
of
listened to
the
part of it, yeah, for at least.
sorry, Janice. Not
Well, I listened to the podcast during my commute once
no,
in a while, so I was
you
like,
are good. You are good. But he talked about similarly, like we need to instill the joy in these kids first and foremost. Like, and I think I know I go through so many different seasons where I try to really lean into the joy, and sometimes I have this issue where, metal has memory. Like I've been trained a certain way to teach music education a certain way. Also didn't have the cool stylings that you had with whole like video micro whatever it was. But uh and so sometimes I get into this like even like in my 10th year of teaching, I sometimes feel the need to no, they need us to have these rudiments so they can have fun later. But um yeah, so but when I hear you sharing this, it's like, yeah, like just don't forget, Jonathan, don't forget. Like productivity can be fun. I love that
Yeah.
one.
But it's like it's hard to think of that sometimes. Like for me, I realize like when things get really stressful or like sometimes classes have bad days and reactivities through the roof, and my brain wants to go back to like, okay, well that's structure that makes me feel better. But
Mm,
is that helping everybody else?
mm,
If I get into like drill sergeant, let's get moving. We're gonna just be productive and this isn't gonna be fun. And that's because like that's what I was seeing when I was reading theories or if I was talking about it with like the class when we were like, how would you get a class that's really noisy to quiet down? What are the classroom managements? And for me, I started or at least I've been really attempting to try and let go of that, where I'm like, I really want to keep that joy in the classroom or that play in the classroom because I feel like even though there's moments in time where I feel like there's less structure and it might be a little bit more reactive, the students I feel like build better as a community. Like my students this year are much closer than they were when I first started teaching for sure.
mm. And I'm
And I feel
sure
like that helped out a lot.
which part?
Oh, I meant I feel like giving like the rein, like kind of letting go a bit of like my old beginning roots
Mm.
helped out a lot with that.
Yeah, well, and also it doesn't hurt that you are now there
Yeah.
exclusively. But no, that's really cool. Um, so this is your fourth year. You are finishing your fourth year.
Yep.
Um, and I am just curious, like I don't know, I feel like whenever I have these interviews, like, oh, well, if I had this for 80 more minutes, sure, we can get in some more stuff. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I think you're someone who has a very unique perspective on things, like how you were taught music, being self-taught, how how you were not a plan A music teacher, how you wanted to go into language, how you were going to, your I know a lot of teachers that when they grew up, like when they were right out of the womb, they wanted to be a elementary music teacher. But like your path was different, and also you learned differently. Like, as we talked earlier, you student taught during COVID, like, and so your first batch of kids were the post-COVID kids. So I guess I share all this because you're someone who has a unique perspective. What is something that you notice that your perspective may or may not be different? Well, something that you hold dear to your heart that is different than what others may see. Like, what is your PSA to music teachers across the world that are listening to this podcast? I
Mhm.
guess. Like, what is important that isn't necessarily seen by everyone, but you really hope other people see?
I think it's like it's okay to take a step back and try something completely different. Like I feel like some people really want to stay in those roots of like I know this works, I've seen it work and I wanted to keep it going. But
Mm.
for me, like a lot of my teaching, like I started on the internet. So I did my best to make PowerPoints work, to
Mhm.
make videos, to make things work out very technologically, I guess is the right way. And then after studying Orff and ETM, like for me at least, I realized that sometimes it's okay to be like, this wasn't good. Because I felt like for me, I very much had to be like, I need to be correct. I need to be on it. I did the research. This should work. And if it's not, there's something wrong. And there's something wrong with me. And I was like,
Mhm.
nope, sometimes things happen. Like sometimes it might work for one fourth grade class and the other fourth grade class, it it blows up in their face. And that's okay.
Mhm.
And for me, it was sometimes I need to let go of like being harsh on myself, I think.
I hear that.
Because I feel like, and I think it was that go, 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 where it's like, I want them here, but they're not here yet, and I don't know why, and I'm stressing out about it. But now, like, for me, I think it's see where they take you,
See
like,
what they
see
can
where they
take
can
you.
take themselves. It's what I've been thinking a lot, like with Orff at least, it's like, what is the student creating? What are they making? Because I feel like that tells me a lot more than me telling them to make something or me telling them to do something.
Hmm. Love that.
So I find it very interesting, but I think, yeah, that and productivity can be fun. Like I feel like that's like my main takeaway that I've gotten at least in these 4 years of teaching that I've had.
Okay. Cool. Well, what do you, and then now maybe instead of talking to the whole world, talking to yourself in 4 more years, what do you hope, as we shared earlier, it's like metal has a memory. Like, what's something that you hope to tell your, or what is something you hope to see yourself do in 4 years, but also like hope to remind your older self.
I hope, honestly, ugh, that's hard. Myself in 4 years. Because I'm like even thinking about like how much like all the trainings I've been to.
Mhm.
But I think the big one is like, mm, it's hard. It's like never, honestly, I hope to keep making connections. Like that was one thing
Mm.
I never expected as a music teacher. I've kind of felt like I was an island for doing my student teaching, but during COVID, I feel like that's kind of inevitable.
Sadly enough, yeah.
Um, but making all these connections like with you or Genesis or Jamie and like Arosa or like AOSA, like all of my levels teaching, the amount of connections that I've made and the friends and like people that I've met, like I hope to continue doing that because I feel like that's helped me evolve as a person that I'm proud of.
Mm. Like that. Yeah. And it seems like it stems back to what you valued in music. It was the community. So
Yeah.
cool. Well, Jasmine, I appreciate your willingness to for me to prod you with these questions. And I'm really happy to have you part of this chaotic harmony team. We will though be back, y'all, after the break. Here at Chaotic Harmony, we talk a lot about Orff. And while we aren't Orff specific teachers, the Orff process plays a big role in the way all the co-hosts at Chaotic Harmony teach. If you keep on hearing this Orff stuff and are curious to learn more, summer is coming, which means a lot of places are teaching Orff Levels, including down here in San Diego. Orff Levels is a 2-week intensive where you learn the Orff process from amazingly seasoned teachers. Honestly, Orff Levels revolutionized not just how I teach, but created a deep bond with all the teachers I trained with. San Diego is having Level 1 from June 30th to July 11th. To register or just to learn more information, you can go to sdorf.org or, for shorter, just click in the show notes. If San Diego is too far away, though, I get it. There are a lot of other options out there, so check those out. But otherwise, if you can make it, go to sdorff.org to sign up for levels. And if you want that San Diego flair, you know, we got you here. Also, in checkout, if you write that Chaotic Harmony sent you, you'll get $50 off. So you can save, 4 burritos while you're down here. So that's sdorf.org. Check it out.
I want to take a quick break and thank my husband Bryan, who's been working behind the scenes producing these episodes every week on all of the platforms and on time. But you need to know that he is first a financial planner for Mission Trails Financial. Mission Trails Financial is a partner that seeks to guide clients in the journey to financial success. They believe that people need a financial advisor that aims to provide strategies for success. Mission Trails Financial helps people navigate investments, tax planning, and insurance. Imagine working with an advisor who isn't tied to specific brands. Mission Trails Financial has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of their clients by providing independent, objective advice. Their mission is to help clients accomplish their financial goals. As Joe Vitale once always said, a goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. Do yourself a favor and set up a time to chat with Mission Trails Financial. There's no cost for an initial consultation. Visit www.missiontrailsfinancial.com or call 619-419-0238 to schedule a call. You'll be glad you did. We believe that leaning on professionals is how we get ahead. Check out the program notes for more information.
And welcome back to Chaotic Harmony. Before we get to our next segment, our hard left turn, thank you all so much for being a part of this 100+ episode journey. 115. Woo! Whether you joined us back at my bad. Jasmine's first episode with the video game Le Bon music, which we will announce soon enough who got the winner's cookie. Whatever. Or you joined us today. Thank you so much. It means a lot to have you be a part of us. And if you want this journey to continue, please support the things you love. We have Patreon, patreon.com/chclassroom, where you can get special merch and other things that are for the class. If you don't have a coin to toss our way, that's okay. But there are free ways to support us. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you know the drill. 5 stars, please. To add, also you can leave a written review. We will read if you leave one, we will read it on this podcast. Actually, I have not checked since the last one. So, has there been a new? Probably not. It's probably still. We'll find out. Filibustering. Can you do a song and dance, Jasmine?
Song a day.
Love it. Yep. No, it's still Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. By the way, you're awesome, Michelle. But y'all, please make sure you leave a review. It'd be cool. Also, you can follow us on YouTube and all the socials. Leave this episode a like, write a nice comment. All these small things are to ensure that these extracurricular things still exist and don't get bought out by, I don't know, Abercrombie and Fitch. Sure. So that's today. Because they really want Chaotic Harmony, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
If you're saying it, it must be fact.
I've been seeing a bunch of emails from them, so who knows? That all said, it is time for us to do our favorite segment that's online, Fake Sheet, where the rules are simple. I will be giving Jasmine 5 books, not 10, because we're running a little bit on the later end of this episode. 5 books, and she has to guess which ones are real and which ones are fake. If you can get at least 4 correct. 4 is the ratio. 4.
80%?
No, 3. It's 3. Because
60%?
60%. If you can get 60%, then congratulations. If not, you will never be a host ever again. I'm kidding. What's up?
Oh, sorry. My husband's talking.
No, you get it. You get it.
But never a host.
I'm kidding. All right. So, are you ready, Jasmine?
I am.
All right. Let's go. First book 1. The Day the Crayons Quit. Real book or fake?
Real book.
Are you locking it in?
I am locking that in. I think I saw someone do a play about this.
The Day the Crayons Quit, written by Drew Daywalt. Yes, a real book. I remember the first time I saw this book, kindergartners, we do like a literature parade at my school site. And so you have to have a book that you dress up as. Instead of Halloween, it's literature parade. The kindergarten teachers dressed up for that book. It's like, it's a curious name for a book. But yeah. All right. Next book. Brave. Real book or fake?
Real book?
You locking in?
I think I'm locking in as real book because I feel like it's one word. So I'm like, there has to be a book with. And
Is
it's
there a
like,
children's book? That's the question.
if it's a children's book. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Brave, written by Weshoyot Alivtre. So, yes. And that one, I forgot to write down the notes. I had notes. This one was about oh goodness. It is about about more of acceptance of boys with long hair. It kind of also ties them with the indigenous folks.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. And The Day the Crayons Quit. What's that book about? Poor Duncan just wants to color, but when he opens his box of crayons, he finds only letters, all saying the same thing. His crayons had enough. They quit. So that's the summary for that. Check it out. All right. Number 3. Sorry, Jade. You got real book or fake book?
Fake?
You
I'm
locking
gonna
it
lock
in?
in on fake.
Sorry, Jade. You got written by Jonathan Seligman. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So you're 3 for 5 at the moment. So that's good news, Bears. But, let's just keep on rolling this cookie. So, book 4, The Bad Seed. Real book or fake?
Real book. Locking in on that.
The Bad Seed, written by Jory John. All righty. So I
I
feel
think
like,
I read that in the
oh, did
past,
you?
actually. That's why I was like, it sounds really familiar.
I feel like I need to be better at my fake books because like that was just maybe am I making this too easy? But we don't know. So this book, written by Jory John, is about, or their description. This is a book about a bad seed. A bad seed. How bad? Do you really want to know? He has a bad temper, bad manners, and a bad attitude. He's been a bad since he can remember. I'm hoping there's some redemptive elements to this. But I'm guessing there is. But yeah,
Yeah, it's part of a series.
we're
Like it
part
has
of a
like the bad
series.
seed, the cool bean, the sour grape, the smart cookie, the good
Uh,
egg, the couch potato. Like play on words, but
gotcha. Okay. Well, what happens to this bad seed? You'll have to find out next time on Chaotic. Lastly, tiny seed. Real book
bad seed,
or fake book?
tiny seed. It's the story of a tiny seed turns into a big plant. I'm like, that could be a children's book. We already had bad seed, but now tiny seed. I'm gonna go with fake.
You
Cause
locking
you
in?
said, yeah, I'm locking in on fake.
Okay. The tiny seed, written by Eric Carle. So it's all good. You still got the good points. But this book summary is Eric Carle's classic story of the life cycle of a flower is told through the adventures of a tiny seed. Blah, 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 blah. More to that.
Oh,
But
I
yeah,
was right.
you
The
were right.
seed turns into big plant. Okay,
Okay. For I guess the goal is I need to create better fake books and
I'll send you some recommend. I'll make some with you.
okay. This is our summer project.
Yep,
Um,
sounds good.
cool.
A
Well,
list of fake books.
list of fake books. Because all my like my fake books have there's been like a couple that are like teasers, but like I always like to throw in like one like terrible like what was the one I threw
What
in
was it?
here?
Let's hoard our wealth.
Yes, yes, the greatest children's book ever. Um, you know, we gotta teach kids about the woes of capitalism now. But anywho, Jasmine, it was great having you on this episode. And if people want to reach out to you, do you have an email or socials that you like to share to the peoples so they can share
Ooh,
how they also learned how to play the bass with pictures, still pictures?
I don't think with technology now, I don't think anyone's gonna need to ever learn the bass like that
But
anymore.
alas, even in the tens, that's how you learned. So,
Yeah.
mm,
So let's see. If people have any questions, they can reach out to me on my Instagram. I go by Jasmine Rice Flour. Flour like the baking ingredient, not like the plant. But I guess
what
they're both
seed?
plants, but
There are plants, yeah.
but the baking ingredient. Um, let's see. If they're ever interested in workshops in the Sacramento area, I'm also part of Orosa. Just a quick shout out to my Orff chapter. Um, but we're having some workshops coming up in October. I think we have our workshop series starting in October of this year. So you can find us on American River Orff. Gotta double check this.
Dude,
I'm I made the
Genesis
website and
also
I always
proofed it.
forgot. It's AmericanRiverOrff.com.
Was Arosa
Yes,
taken?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
Like I became the webmaster for Arosa when the website was already made, but I was just not a fan of the formatting, so I just like whoosh, we're
That's
gonna
fair.
revamp it.
Okay.
But AmericanRiverOrff.com,
Dot com.
and we even have like a mailing list or a contact, so you could also contact me there because I'm working the website, so you'll reach me there.
And if you see any issues with the website, you can always
Yep,
contact Jasmine
yep,
Rice Flour, not
yep.
the baking ingredient kind.
Baking ingredient, not the plant.
Yes. And you can find me at Mr. Seligman on most of the socials, MrSeligman, Instagram, TikTok. That's probably my main two go-tos at the moment. I'm on Blue Sky. I want to post more on there, but alas, it's hard. Typing is hard. You can also find us at CH Classroom on the socials as well. And as a reminder, we have a couple more episodes until we are going on our Chaotic Harmony break. So do check the upcoming episodes for that. But y'all, Jasmine, thank you so much for joining us. I know I'll
Thanks for the
see you.
invite.
Yeah, of course. I'll see you in a couple episodes. But until next time, everyone, bye.
See ya!